Welcome to the American Made and Paid Show, the home of free speech and independent thought.
The big story is freedom of speech is really in trouble. The far left knows that at any time they can call for a sponsor boycott of anyone they despise.
It is right here, right now, where you'll get your weekly dose of unfiltered truth.
It's non-negotiable. Pre-existing conditions will be protected. This president has said this as a candidate.
Insight.
Very few people I know could have handled it. We can never, ever let this happen to another president again.
And information that challenges the American way of life.
Welcome, everybody, to the American Made and Paid Show. Thank you guys for joining us today. Hope you all had a wonderful 4th of July celebration. I certainly did. My clothes still smell like gunpowder and sulfur because when Chinese people celebrate 4th of July, we do fireworks and stuff in our backyard. So, yeah, that's what I was up to. But real quick, just want to jump into it. Professor Dreg, I want you to weigh into this. It's kind of a little thing, but I think we can always spin it into something bigger about the U.S. women's national team, right? About going to the White House, right? And I think that there's been a little bit of resistance with one of their particular members, the one that's more LGBT aspect, right? About not wanting to go visit the president at the White House if invited. And I think that this is interesting because it's the one lady that is that. I don't think the rest of the team members feel that way, but she's the only one who is very, very SJW, not Trump, because she feels like this administration is very against the LGBTQ and all that type of stuff, which is very, very untrue. And ideally, I don't get it. The reason why I want to bring this up is that why is it always the people who feel like they're being personally victimized, right, in any sort of form whatsoever because of their minority status that seem to have the biggest problem, yet Trump has extended too much of an open hand to minority people, even as a conservative?
Yeah, well, here's oh my God, this is so silly. So I forget this lady's name, but I do know she has purple hair.
Megan Rapinoe.
Oh yeah, Rapinoe.
She's from Reading, which is just a few hundred miles north of the Bay Area, about 100 miles or so.
Oh, is that where she lives? Oh Jesus! See, she can't even afford to live in the Bay. She's oh my God, spreading her crap. So she in one of these matches, the first match, she actually kneeled at the national anthem, and from the best of my knowledge, I believe her coach told her not to do that. And so she started standing because they weren't going to have none of that. And but here's the thing: she's kneeling because, for police brutality and all this other, because she wants to stand in unison against people who go through police brutality. But again, she's just an ignorant person who's lived a privileged life. And being
it's always a white liberal. It's always a white liberal.
No, but it's the truth, because look at Kaepernick. He's a black dude, but he's privileged. Just like, look, every athlete, every person who has been, above average in sports, like who can compete at the college level, but excel at it, try out for the Olympic team, play professional sports, you actually have a privileged life. Whether you make millions or not, that's still a privilege, because think about it. This Rapinoe chick, she doesn't have to pay for anything. Everything, like her travel expenses, is literally paid for by somebody. I honestly don't know who pays for the U.S. soccer women's team, because I know they don't generate any revenue, and that's why they're suing. So, like, U.S. soccer is actually suing FIFA because, of the pay disparity. Like, there's a real pay disparity where these women should be making bank. Because, the U.S., soccer team, they literally carry the sport for women worldwide. So all of these stadiums that are sellouts and stuff like that, they don't make any money. Yeah. So, and I don't know if that pays for all the other teams in the world to travel and all this other stuff. I don't know. But either way, the United States women's soccer team is suing FIFA for whatever reasons. So this chick, nonetheless, is still privileged to live a life where she doesn't have to pay for her life. Her lifestyle of playing a soccer football or whatever you want to call it. That's a privilege. You know, I mean, obviously she's working hard for it, but she doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, she doesn't have to spend any money. So she's going to complain about police brutality when she has no idea what she's talking about? Like, seriously, she does more harm than good. Because why is this white person, I mean, it doesn't have, even if, like, no, I know a lot of white dudes that get fucked up by the cops too, so it doesn't matter. We got this because women never get fucked up by the cops.
Unless you're Sandra Bland, but
I should take that back, because
I was gonna say, unless you're Sandra.
No, like in Riverside, oh my God, this one chick, she was pregnant, and the cops just fucked her up. I mean, just pulled her out of the car. Just a white girl too, wasn't a black chick, because normally black chicks get beat up too by cops, but no, this one white girl, man, she got booted in the belly. Just,
For
you know,
what reason?
I don't know, because the cop didn't give an explanation, but, you know, she got out of the car. She goes, hey, like, she pulled over in the parking lot of Wiener Schnitzel's parking lot. And she went out of the car and she explained to the cops, hey, look, you know, because I'm pregnant, I wanted to pull over in a parking lot so I don't get hit, so nobody gets hit in the street, which seemed pretty valid. And he just threw her to the floor and he fucking booted her, just like swift kick to the gut.
Okay, well, that's not cool, but all right.
I'm like, oh, man, that is brutal. But, you know, which kind of led me to what I really want. I mean, because that incident actually kind of brings me back to what happened to that Navy SEAL, but let's not divert. But anyway,
definitely.
So this lady, this Rapinoe chick, she has no idea what police brutality is, because she never lived a life where the police were rogue. And that's the thing. It's like, what is she complaining about? What's her point? There is not, I mean, because look at her life. She's a soccer player, for crying out loud. She literally lives the life of a millionaire just for kicking a ball around and being gay.
Well, okay. Well, I mean, being on the U.S. women's soccer team is a good thing, but I think, the reason why I wanted to talk about this, even though people may seem to go, well, what's the U.S. women's soccer team got to do with anything? It's the one woman who's white, who's of a minority status, you could say. I don't know if I guess LGBTQ is under a protected class now because of legislation.
Is bullshit.
But she white.
No, it's a protected class, but it's bullshit. It really is. And that's the thing. This whole thing is bullshit. And the reason why this is so important is because all of this chick is doing, a privileged girl who has a liquor license is basically saying a bunch of things that are politically inaccurate just for her own status. She now wants to be worshipped for more than just kicking a ball around.
Well,
and that's a problem.
But this is what happens also, because I'm making a prediction here. Whenever people start to get somewhat political in one way or another, it means one of two things. You want to stay relevant, or your career is about to end, so you got to find something else to kick around.
Your career is going to end. If you look at her, she looks like she's close to 40. So, you know, and you got to give her credit for being that old, still playing at her level. It's pretty, you know, it's pretty remarkable as far as like what a human being can do at that.
Yeah. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about her age. I'm not discriminating. But I'm talking about the absurdity of like, you know, come on, like. You just had Pride Month. You got to compare the two. So I want to bring this up. So there's another chick named Alex Morgan. Dude, I like her.
Yeah, okay. So you know who she is. Dude, come on now. You know what I mean?
Man, that woman is
and she has long hair. She has like the...
And she don't care. Yeah.
But you know what I mean? But she's a pretty chick for being an athlete. Because, you know, most of these athletes look like the Rapinoe broad. Really... like masculine. It's just how it goes, you know, like and I'm saying another Norm Macdonald joke, but Norm Macdonald made a joke. It was like, how come the women in beach volleyball or snowboarding are like breathtakingly gorgeous, but other women like in, they look like monster men, But that's what
I believe he actually said that. But,
but it was, dude, you gotta watch it because I butchered his joke, but it was funny, man. Because like the girls are soft,
True, that's true. And then what they do with Sports Illustrated and ESPN is that they like take these like athletic photos when like they're like in complete and full flex, so it makes them even more like. And that's what I think he was making fun of because it's just like.
Yeah, no, but it's funny, dude. You got it anyway. But Alex Morgan is hot. She's like a hot female athlete.
Yeah,
and she's stealing a lot of the thunder from that Dikey chick. I forget.
She's also like married too, so she's got a husband. She's like it.
Is she married? I had no idea about these. Because I honestly don't follow female sports because it's just not that interesting. Because look at it. There's a male soccer tournament going on. The Copa of America, de America, or something like that. So that is, come on, more people are watching that than watching the World Cup for women. It's just a reality because men's sports is just better than women's sports. I mean, but here's the thing. Alex Morgan got way more attention for doing a sipping tea gesture after she scored a goal against England. It was funny. She scored a goal, she scored a goal, and then she runs, to the field in the middle of the field, and she does this gesture of like sipping tea with her pinky up in the air.
Yeah.
Like she's like the anti-Rapinoe. You know what I mean? She sticks up for her country, and she's dissing the country she beat. So, and that's the thing. It's like you have to look at something like what Alex Morgan does and say that's really cool versus, somebody who's dissing our country. And
right.
That type of behavior that what's her name again?
Rapinoe.
Yeah, Rapinoe. Fuck, man. Yeah, I got to get better with knowing people's names, even if they're ugly. Because that's the thing, like I got it in my head, like an ugly broad, I'm just gonna forget her. Like I will not remember ugly broad. I'm like, that's a bad thing for me. Like I don't know why, but I gotta start treating people, you know what I mean, equally. But anyway, so Rapinoe? So Rapinoe, right? Rapinoe?
Yeah, Rapinoe.
Okay, so Rapinoe, her actions literally are meant to divide this country. Whereas Alex Morgan, the hot broad, her sipping tea actually gets everybody motivated. Like if you're in a pub watching a soccer game and you see this Alex Morgan doing a sipping tea, dude, everyone's going to be cheering that. Obviously they're going to hate it in England or like the English crowd, they're going to hate it. So like, have you ever heard of the hooligans? Like soccer hooligans?
To some degree, yeah.
Yeah. So like, every hooligan understands what Morgan's doing, but that's what makes the game great and unifying. But this Rapinoe crap, Rapinoe, not singing the national anthem, taking a knee, dude, everyone hates her. All you're gonna do, like all of even the hooligans would hate what she's doing. Why? Because she's an idiot. Because everybody knows if there's police brutality, no matter where you're at in the world, because in Russia, the people literally fight the cops.
Yeah.
Like they don't give a fuck. Like if they know the cop is acting wrong, they'll go after that cop and beat his ass, or lose the fight in trying.
Well, I think just to kind of gather it all together, right? Her resistance is just one of. It's just part of the whole victim culture, woke culture, where it's just like the administration that they're under is being very discriminatory towards women and LGBT communities and yada 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 for all these reasons. And it's going to bite you in the butt. Look what happened to Kaepernick, right? That's the main thing. This leads me into something else I wanted to talk about, which is, since we're talking about women's sports, we might as well talk about women's gender quotas in companies because it's kind of related. Apparently, according to this gender quota, right? Because, we're talking about just female representation here, but I got to state the facts. Apparently, gender quotas on company boards are a waste of money. This is according to this study that I think I'll send you in a second here. But apparently, what's been going on right now is that this is not related to women's sports, but now we're going to shift gears, talk about women and the workplace and everything. Apparently, women directors, firm performance, and firm risk are all related. And according to this, there was an increase from when it comes. So basically, what's happening here is that when you put women on a shoe board in a place of influence for shareholder value, it actually reduces profitability by an average of 12%. Now, I hate to say that, but this is something that we should talk about a little bit more so too. It just came out today. What I'll do is I'll send it over to you. This is something that you want to look over real quick. But it's related, right? It's related to what we're talking about here, because I think for one thing, there's a conflation of what the progressive culture sees as being good representation and what is actually fact, what is actually what we're seeing. So I'm going to send this over to you. Take a look at it.
Yeah, I want to look at it.
And let me know what you think, because I hate to say things like that, but it's like, I don't know. It's the same thing with women's, because you mentioned something earlier about how women's sports just don't make money very much. And
well, they don't. Look at the WNBA. Those chicks are still broke. They still got to get regular jobs. And, there's just no interest. There's no money in marketing. Nike doesn't spend a lot of money on female athletes from the WNBA. That's just the reality. So, but women's soccer is totally different. Like, you can get, like, Alex Morgan could honestly make tons of money because she's a pretty girl. Or I guess lady. She's a pretty lady, and she's really good. I mean, just as good as Rapinoe. And but again, at the same time, it's female. I don't know. It's just boring. I mean, they beat Thailand 13-0. Like, it's just not that good. It's not like, okay, so like if you look at the women's UFC. That actually is better. Like most female fighting isn't that good. It's just like, you can tell the level of competition is not high. People probably like it just to see boobies bounce or something like that. It's just a weird thing. Like watching female oil wrestling. You know what I mean? It's essential. It's not about sports.
It's not about sports. It's about the entertainment value of women watching.
Yeah, but the thing is, I'll give credit to the fighters of the UFC. They, at the top, maybe the top 5 fighters in the UFC, they're really good. And they fight well, and they have technique and blah, 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 blah. But again, but I'm just against fighting as a sport in general, because it promotes stupidity beyond belief. And, but anyway, but staying on point with women's sports and everything else, the one key thing that makes that's okay, so women's sports just isn't that interesting. It just isn't. I can't think of any other professional female sports. There's soccer, but that's not professional. But when you're playing for FIFA, well, I mean, but it's the truth. When you're playing for FIFA, that is kind of like professional, because there's tons of money being generated. But like women's basketball, I think they try to do beach volleyball, professional leagues. But look, there's just no interest in reality. There just isn't. Like, maybe like the X Games, winter sports like snowboarding. I honestly don't know. Like women's sports, it's like, it's just not that interesting. I mean, track and field, maybe is interesting, but not really, because the best, the best female track athletes they can compete with high school boys, and I know female tennis. What am I talking about? Female tennis is actually good, because the level of competition is actually interesting to see. It's kind of like watching 2 fighters, who aren't known, but they're evenly, and they're just fighting toe-to-toe. That's actually interesting to see, although I don't condone it anymore. It's just bad. But yeah, female tennis,
I mean, I bring this up because wage gap related stuff is a big push. And it's the reason why when we take it back to Megan Rapinoe, right, a lot of the resistance to the current administration is because of the fact that minority communities or women's rights are being shoved under the rug as if, Trump's a sexist, all that kind of stuff. When in reality, over 200,000 jobs were created in just this month alone. The wage gap, which we've talked a little bit about on the show, obviously the biggest myth, still something that's being perpetuated. But I think that when you play in like women's sports, a lot of what these people advocate for are saying, well, look at this. I mean, women athletes make considerably less, not because they're exerting themselves less, but less money goes into it. And I think that you'll see, honestly, I'll say this because I wanted to talk about women in the workplace, but also in women's sports, there's just a clear disparity of earnings, right? And I don't even really think it's because of sexism. I think it's just because people don't spend money to go see it, and you can't.
Well, see, but this is why the lawsuit of FIFA is really important, because the money is being generated, and this is why it's so funny. FIFA acts like a socialist country. It really is. Like, if you look at a socialist country, like in Venezuela, the government takes everything. They pay Venezuelans literally $6 a month. So FIFA does the exact same thing. Whereas FIFA will distribute the monies around the world equitably. And it's obvious that the United States generates the most revenue. These stars generate the most revenue. Everybody generates more. I mean, look, the U.S. ladies generate more interest than, let's say, Thailand, or let's say whoever. But it's the truth. So in theory, the U.S. should be getting more money. These ladies in the U.S. should be getting more money versus other people. So, because God, you got to look, these stadiums are sold out. I don't know if they're free tickets or they're being sold at $100, $150, but they're packed. And the interest is coming from, the major country,
right,
which is the United States. Everybody else is second tier. It's not even close. And I think, when you watch these games, it's thinking, Jesus, it's amazing how the U.S. doesn't beat everybody 5-0, or they say 5-0, 6-0. You know what I mean? Like, that's the difference from the U.S. and all the other countries. I don't care. Like Sweden, the U.S. should have been like up 4 or 5. When they played England, they should have been up like 4 or 5. It doesn't make any sense. But it was close. And I'm thinking, because they're not even trying. Like these ladies, you can tell they're not going out there all because, they don't want to look like, I'm going to throw down a beat down like the way they did against Thailand, 13-0.
So, on a question of that, the disparity, I guess, gap with earnings with female athletes, why is that more prevalent, I guess, in athletics specifically than it is in the workplace? Because in the workplace, there's reasonable metrics, right? Like women just work different types of jobs. They work less hours. But the metrics are the same in female sports too. Think about it. Have you ever heard of the D League in the NBA? Somewhat. Again, I'm not very good with sports because I just don't watch sports. Like, that's the thing.
No, but I'm telling, there is no pay gap, even in female.
I know that.
Sports.
Oh, okay. So even in female, okay.
Yeah, even in female sports, there's no pay gap. In sports, the money you get is directly correlates to the interest that you can generate for that sport. Because look at hockey. Hockey is a professional. There's 4 major sports in the United States.
Right.
Football is number 1. Maybe baseball's number 2. Basketball's number 3. And hockey's number 4. And these hockey players don't make the money that NBA players or baseball players make who are at the top of their game. And, the journeymen who honestly could play for the NHL, they don't make the same money as journeymen get for basketball or football or baseball.
Right.
And why? Because there's no interest in hockey. There just isn't. The appeal for hockey is very limited to like New England and Canada.
Right.
But like, do people really like the San Jose Sharks? Do people really understand hockey? No. Everybody loves, like, in the Bay Area, in the San Francisco Bay Area, basketball is king, even though they have the 49ers.
You don't hear about the 49ers very often in the...
No, well, in the 80s, I mean, like, you got the Oakland Raiders, and in theory, those are two-story franchises. Everybody knows, like, the Raiders and the 49ers, like, the top teams, like, historically, like, if you think of NFL football, you're going to say Dallas Cowboys, 49ers. And then on the other side, who do you have? The New England Patriots, and you got the Oakland Raiders, and then second tier teams. Who else do you have? Well, the Green Bay Packers are also a story franchise. Who else?
Oakland Athletics, that type of thing.
No. Like if you, like, from all around the world, like, the people who generate the most money for the NFL would be the 49ers, the Oakland Raiders, the Dallas Cowboys, the Pittsburgh Steelers, New England Patriots, Green Bay Packers, and like, there's very few franchises that generate interest all around the world.
Okay.
Because everybody loves the Raiders. Why? Because they're the bad guys. And then everybody loves the 49ers because they're the good guys. And then, because you had Joe Montana, he was a squeaky clean guy. And just like the 80s and the 90s for the Niners just defined the NFL. It changed the game globally. And so anyway, and then you have the Dallas Cowboys. That's America's team. And then you have the Washington Redskins, another story franchise. It's even though they're not good, there's certain things that just spark the interest of people around the world, and it's mostly because of the mascots.
Yeah, of course. It's the imagery that's behind it.
Yeah, like silver and black.
So speaking of Raiders, right? I don't know why we're talking about sports. This is totally not what we normally do.
No, because it's about pay disparity and how
pay disparity. So, but Oakland Raiders, right? I remember visiting this guy's auto shop, and he basically bought anything Raider material. Oakland Raiders, it's like people sport the gear and the merchandise, even though they know nothing about the team. It's just the look, right? It's got, the typical pirate look, and it's kind of got that Oakland outlaw. This guy had just Raider gear all over his, like, black, and it's like a Lincoln Town car, but it was like a Raider car, right? And this guy literally told me, it's like, well, I don't really follow it, but I buy anything Raiders related. So it just kind of shows you that it's kind of like, what's another good thing? And this is not related to sports, but I got a segue here. It's kind of like Metallica. You see people wear Metallica shirts, even though they don't really listen to Metallica. Some kids you'll see like a 10-year-old in a Metallica shirt, and he'll have an idea as to what Metallica is, but it's gotten to the point where it's like, it's just a brand. And people just wear shirts that say Nirvana and Metallica on them just because. But I'm like, no, it's a heavy metal band out from Los Angeles and San Francisco. That's how it works.
Yeah, well, Metallica really is from they claim San Francisco.
Yeah,
but here's my point. The reason why we're talking about sports, and it's real important, because what Megan Rapinoe does or did with her attitude, with the what's that called? With her attitude of, with her quote unquote, taking a stance against the national anthem and fighting oppression. All she's doing is gang mentality. That's all she's doing. She's participating in having a gang mentality. And guess what? Sports promotes that gang mentality as well. And that's why it's a natural segue, because that's what all sports do. You're sporting the colors of that team. Oakland, bitch. I rep Oakland. The Raiders. They have no idea who plays on the Raiders, but they rep Oakland. And it's just like, NWA always sports Raider gear, because at the time of the NWA, the Raiders were actually playing in LA. And they were called the Los Angeles Raiders, and they were playing out of USC.
Oh, okay.
Which is right there. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that was like a sense of pride, like, LA, man, South Central Raiders, Raiders, because they play right here. Like, USC is right in the ghetto.
It is.
And oh my goodness, I smell coffee cake. It smells good, actually. Counselor brought me some. But anyway, she just got back. But anyway, so long story short, this mentality of
I got puffs.
I don't even know. Oh, cream. I don't like cream.
I can hear the counselor.
No. But anyway, so let me get back to the point. With this gang mentality that we have, and that generates the interest. What that interest generates revenue. And so female athletes will never generate revenue because sports has always been about not just like the people who root have always been about gang mentality, but in a non-fight to the death type of way. Like the hooligans, they love being a hooligan, roughnecks. They like being a roughneck. And that's just a reality. So when you have people who are complaining and don't understand the privilege that they are in, and trust me, Rapinoe, it has privilege. She's traveling around the world for free. Everybody loves her for no reason other than her ability to kick a ball very well and run around faster than other women very well while kicking a ball. That's what she does. And she doesn't understand that is a privileged life, to honestly make a living doing nothing important. Seriously, she's making good money doing nothing important for society. So she's taken it upon herself to take gang mentality thinking one step further. And that's what she's doing. At the White House yesterday, if you go look at that dude, I don't want to get his name wrong, but I believe it's Ford Fisher, spelled with a CH. But you'll see, like, there was these people burning flags yesterday. And obviously, did you see that?
Yeah, Independence Day and people burning flags.
Yeah. So in front of the White House, you know how there was this 4th of July parade at the White House yesterday?
Yeah,
so anyway, so during this parade, this idiot guy burned a flag and threw it at cops. And obviously he got arrested because, it's a joke. But anyway, but that's my point. Her actions, Megan, what's her name?
Rapinoe. I'm probably not even saying it right myself, but we should just keep.
Okay, so Alex Morgan is the nice one. Okay, so Rapinoe actions literally leads to that type of behavior, that gang mentality where it's me versus you. There is video, like Ford Fisher has a video of two people talking. They're arguing about this and that. And then the guy with the MAGA, with the MAGA hat.
Yeah.
And it was funny too because it was black dudes. It was black dudes with the MAGA hat. And I think this guy might have been Hispanic, like a white Latino. Yeah. So this crazy white boy who was Antifa or whatever, anti-Trump,
right?
Or pro-Rapinoe. So this white boy, pro-Rapinoe type of guy, headbutted, I think it was a chick, like a Hispanic chick, but it's hard to tell because the dude had a bun. Maybe
these guys are crazy. That one journalist, that Asian guy, Andy No, got harassed and milkshakes thrown at him. He ended up with I think some brain damage or something. Yeah, that happened a week ago, and that's crazy. Antifa are no joke. Those guys are nuts.
No, but but the thing is, we can't just say Antifa. I honestly believe it's more than just Antifa. I think what happened yesterday was just, this is how the left behaves. This is how the left acts. These people are violent people. Like Rapinoe, that from the soccer team. For no reason, for no justified reason, she's spitting on this country. She is, think about this. What is justification for her claiming anything about police brutality? She has no idea about police brutality, but yet somehow, some way, she's really angry. And in front of a world stage, I'm going to just defy the United States and tell everybody how shitty it is in the United States, even though I'm making tons of money kicking a ball and running around in circles. That's what she does.
That's what people do.
So think about that. If she is that angry and that pissed off, even though she runs around in circles, kicking a ball, chasing people, That's her job. She runs around in circles chasing people. Yet somehow, some way, she's angry.
That's how it
And
works.
think about it. And this is what she's teaching people in this country. Her behavior, Colin Kaepernick's behavior, leads to people headbutting women in front of the White House just for disagreeing with you. And that's the point. She has no moral authority or ethical high ground to ever complain about this country. None. Because her life is perfect. Right. I don't care if her liquor license is hated by other people. Who cares? Hate is a natural state of being, just like love. Love and hate comes from the same spot in the brain. It's a scientific fact. The brain cannot distinguish between love and hate. It just doesn't. Mm-hmm. I guess you need Romans to understand the differences. Yeah. But it's the truth. I mean, look, if you're an atheist or you're a scientist, everybody knows love and hate comes from the same part of the brain. But Romans kind of tells us why. Because you know what I mean? Like, because I know the difference from love and hate. You know what I mean? Like, but scientifically, it can't be explained. But, you know, I guess the Bible does pretty good, which is amazing to, like, I don't want to get into the Bible now, but it's the truth.
Always happy to do so. Yeah.
No, but that's the thing that blew me away. It's like, holy crap. Like, I don't want to get into it, but yeah, that Romans is insanely enlightening when it answers a lot of questions. You know what I mean? Like, people don't understand psychology, but that's why now I know, like, everything I know about behavior mod and you know, function behavior analysis or anything regarding psychiatry or psychology, dude, it's bogus. It's all fake. It just literally comes from the Bible. Like, all of this crap comes from the Bible. It's insane.
Right.
It's an insane realization. It's like, oh my God, I've been wasting my life chasing things when it's just, you know, but again, like, the Bible's really hard to read and psychology is pretty basic and easy.
Well, so I want to talk about that gang mentality.
It's the same crap. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. Let's focus.
No, I know.
Going back to
oh, I think you froze for a second there. Uh-oh. Hello?
But my friend has the same last name, Vietnamese girl, and she calls herself Go.
Hey, sorry, you froze for a second there. Can you go back and say what you just said? What did you say about a minute ago? The thing froze for a second there. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, for some reason. Oh, there we go. Because you're on total red. I'm watching. But anyway, so as I was saying.
Weird. That was strange.
Yeah. No, because this is the thing. Because I want to focus on the violence aspect of what this broad is doing.
Right.
Because here's the thing. She lives a perfect life, running around in circles, blah, 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 blah. And her life is perfect. She's literally complaining about something she knows nothing about.
Right.
But what happened yesterday in front of the White House is the direct response to what she does and the vile that she's speaking. Although she's not telling people to go to violence, but her actions makes it okay because it's one step more. Because think about it.
Right.
People look at her, they go, look, this girl lives a perfect life running around in circles, kicking a ball, chasing people, and she's complaining, I should do more because I'm a victim of this. I understand it better than her, so I'm going to get milkshakes, put concrete in it, and throw it at Andy No or Go.
Right.
And that's what happens. She is a role model in theory because, you know, athletes are quote-unquote role models, supposedly. But, and it's true to some extent. It
is.
Some of these people who are unstable look at her and they go, man, if this dumb person I should do more. And that's why that dude who was really, I mean, because look, that's why you go after a chick. because he's effeminate, semi-effeminate dude. I don't know if he's gay or not, but if you look at the video from Fort Fisher, you can kind of tell this dude's a little gay. But I could be wrong. But we do know he's effeminate. He headbutts a girl, and the girl throws like a girl punch in his face and almost knocks him out. You know what I mean? And I'm thinking, holy crap, that's insane. But anyway, long story short, it's because of her. Those are her actions. And so, you know, she is not defying Trump at all. It's just, what is her problem? You know, like, seriously, what is her problem? There is no pay gap. It's all made up, although they are suing, but that's a totally different issue. It has nothing to do with Trump or gay rights or anything. It just doesn't. So everything she stands for is just more violence. Because again, like we were saying before, sports literally advocates, and, you know, maybe doesn't advocate, because I think it's what they call desperate impact again. These people have no idea what the impact of rooting for a team really does. You know, for a normal person, they can handle it.
And sports is unusually tribal, especially in certain sects. That's what you're seeing.
Yeah.
Certain parts.
Especially when you're broke. When you're broke and poor and you got nothing in your life, no God, no Jesus, no nothing, and all you got is sports, trust me, violence is the key. Trust me, that's just what happens. Look at NWA. All of those fools wore Raider gear. They didn't wear NWA gear. They wore Raider gear.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Why? Because they have a gang mentality without knowing. Subconsciously, they loved LA. They loved South Central. For some reason, they believed they owned it. But they didn't. All them fools were just renting. They didn't own nothing about South Central. They didn't own Crenshaw or Compton, whatever. They didn't own nothing. They didn't own the sidewalks. They didn't own anything. Seriously, they didn't own anything. Not a street, not a house, not a toilet. But in their mind, they owned it all.
Well, so here's another thing I want to talk a little bit about, because it's all kind of related to the same aspect here. Independence Day is rather interesting because we talked about, you know, Megan Rapinoe. We've talked about U.S. women's soccer, Pride Month, Antifa, all the stuff that happened, I guess, in the past month of June here. And I guess most recently, right, what you'll see with flag burning is that a lot of people actually expressing their ambivalence and their hatred towards America. What you'll see actually with a lot of students on a lot of campuses is that America was never great. They're not proud with where America is. They're not proud to be Americans. And this kind of goes back to what I need to talk about, not just with progressivism in schools, but the fact that a lot of these people are privileged. You said the same thing about Megan Rapinoe. They complain because they're indoctrinated and also because they have no perspective whatsoever. These people have never lived in a socialist. I've lived in a Muslim country, a communist country, a socialist country. And believe me when I say that it's better to live here than anywhere else in the world. You can be a poor American here. You can have no talent here, no skills whatsoever, and still be taken care of. Really. And that's the thing, is like what angers me the most is not just the SJW tendencies of these athletes, right? Colin Kaepernick and Megan Rapinoe. But it's like, people have abandoned. And also, what was with that whole thing with Nike canceling a pair of sneakers because of the Betsy Ross flag? Like, are you serious?
No, but that's true. But that's the point. It makes no sense. So it's insane. It is insane. Oh my God, the whole cancellation of those shoes. That's like, dude, come on. that is the most insane thing. Just because Colin Kaepernick or whatever, they complain about stuff. And that's the thing. What are these people complaining about? These people have no idea what it's like outside of the United States. They really don't. Like when Ms. Rapinoe, when she travels outside the country, she's not exposed to the ghettos of these other countries. She doesn't know what police brutality is like. in these other countries. And the same thing with Colin Kaepernick. He doesn't know. You think he knows Calcutta, India? He doesn't know crap about anything. He doesn't know how other people live. He doesn't know what it's like to live off $6 a month in Venezuela. Mm-hmm. He doesn't. He has no idea. So for
also a lot of people were talking because with the whole parade yesterday, there were tanks that were going through the Capitol. So people were attributing that to like Tiananmen, communism, China, and all that. And I'm like, I mean, I don't know. Are they picking?
Yeah, but nobody can say Bastille Day. They do that in France at Bastille Day.
Yeah, that's true. But also, no one's getting like taken out of their homes and thrown into the streets. You know.
No, but you know what this is? Style. Have you ever been to an air show?
Yes, of course. San Francisco has them all the time. Where
it's the same thing.
Yeah.
An air show is nothing more because these fighter jets, what's the difference of a tank and a fighter jet? Literally nothing.
Right.
When it's done in a parade. So it's not that there was no like, oh, I'm a dictator. Look, the reason why you do these parades with tanks and air shows is because it's recruitment for the military. Because you're going to have a lot of young boys and they say, man, this tank is awesome. I want to drive one. Because that's what boys do.
And then you have all those recruiting sergeants that pass out all these brochures. And it's like, have you ever thought about your future? Why don't you try and... That's how it works, though.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, you know what? I am, too, because at least you're given the opportunity of choice, right? Did you know that in Singapore and Taiwan and Korea, you have mandatory national services for men? I knew this. In Singapore, it's like all my buddies had to go to 2 years of army service, mandatory.
Germany, it's mandatory too. The guy's got to join the military in Germany.
Yeah, 2 years minimum. You got to put in national service.
In Israel, everybody has to join the military.
Yeah, and here we have the option to do it. No one's forcing you to do anything, and people complain about anything they find.
But in the United States, it's totally voluntary, so they have to literally advertise.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point. Look, the military, every branch, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Army, they all spend money every year. I don't know how many millions, but let's just say 20 million a year, each branch. So 60 million on advertising to recruit, because that's all that parade was. It was nothing more than a recruitment technique to get people excited, because air shows are really costly. They just are. And you know, not that many people can be a pilot. And that's why that type of like air shows are hella cool, because man, that's awesome what they do. Because I mean, it's just badass.
Yeah.
To be a pilot, to have that type of mentality and keep your wits about you and all that, because it's precision.
Well,
it's really
it is. But here's the thing: people were talking about how having tanks at the National Mall during Independence Day for the 4th of July had a lot of strong resemblance. I mean, this guy flat out called it like Tiananmen Square, right? Because there's a military crackdown. It's like, nah, because as part of the celebration with air shows, performances, you know, the military out, the Marines.
No. See, but everybody's wrong. I'll tell you why. Well, let me. I'm going to finish. So, when an air show, that recruitment, like, because look, when people try to join the Air Force or the Navy, try to become a pilot, very few people can become a pilot, because one, you got to have incredible math skills. You just do. You just have to have and so most people cannot pass the educational requirement to become a fighter pilot. They just can't. But on the other hand, you could be dumb as rocks to drive a tank. No, but it's true. Any idiot can drive a tank. You don't need to be smart to drive a tank. Trump is so smart to put tanks as part of the parade, because you know what? You might not be able to fly a plane, young man, but guess what? You can drive a tank. So make the tanks accessible to these people. Because most people will never ever, even if you have the mental capacity to fly a plane, there is no way most people cannot handle the physical requirements. any fat slob can drive a tank. Any dummy who is fat as fuck can drive a tank. Anybody. Well, you got to fit, but you know what I mean?
Sure.
That's why you need tanks and other aspects on display. Because, come on, fighter pilots, whether it's Air Force or Navy, even with the Army, they have, fighter pilots when they're doing their show. But come on, very few people can do that. That's a waste of money because everybody's joining, but then when they find out they can't become a fighter pilot, guess what? They drop out or never join.
Right.
A lot of people that go, hey, look, this is what I want to do. Can I do it? And the recruiters can't lie to them. Like, they don't lie. They're pretty honest. Like, well, you got to do this and that's. Like, nope, I'm out of here. But you never know. Maybe possibly after 6 years you can do it. But then when people join in, like, what's his name? Professor X. No, Terminator X. No, from Public Enemy. One of the guys from Public Enemy joined the military. And he didn't like it. He had a hard time with it. And he quit. And I think his name is Professor Griff.
I don't know anything about Public Enemy.
Oh, no, dude, Public Enemy's badass. So he's smart. He's a smart dude. He joined the military, and he hates the military because he was like, man, it's a bad experience. It was a bad experience for him. The military is not for everyone.
Yeah.
It just isn't. And that's why this parade is good, because it shows more of a reality of what the military is like. You got infantrymen, you have people who drive tanks, you got all these people. It's not just flying airplanes. So you need a realistic thing so people have a better understanding. And that's the thing. And so when you're recruiting, so yeah, like, you could be like a flag dude, or you could join you could literally join the band in the military. And
I know. I've looked into it. I actually considered the National Guard at one point, believe it or not.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that, because, there's a role for everybody.
Right.
You
can be a cook, you can be a musician.
Yeah.
You could be a combat engineer. You can even be the guy who pushes paper. It's fine. Like,
no, but hey, that's the truth. Like here in Monterey, there's a literal communication school. And those dudes are just paper pushers. That's all.
Yeah.
And they go through classified stuff, but still, you know what I mean? Not everything in the military is all about flying airplanes. So I think Trump did a good thing with expanding what the military is really all about. So, like, I don't know anything about that parade, but I do know about the tanks. I'm thinking, yeah, it's a good idea, because you know what? A lot of boys, they would love to drive a tank. And plus, driving a tank is something a woman can do too. And be in safety. I don't believe women should be infantry, but they can drive a tank. Why not? You know what I mean?
Well, you got to be an infantryman and drive a tank. I mean, let's be honest here. You got to get out of the tank at some point. You're still going to be armed, and it's still
well. But just
stuff.
like that chick, Sarah, what's her face? She was a cook and she got kidnapped. You know what I mean? And I forgot. And the way the military, the media tried to make it sound like this chick was G.I. Jane, killing people. She was like, no. She goes, I was kidnapped. I was beaten, raped, broke her legs. Yeah, she goes, I didn't shoot anybody. And no, but it's the truth. It's a horrifying thing. And that's the thing. Like, so if a cook got, kidnapped, was a prisoner of war, imagine. Look, I think they could drive a tank. Like, I've never been in a tank, so I don't really know. But I don't think you need that much strength if it has automatic steering. You know what I mean? It's not like driving a car from the 50s where it's like, like using all your muscles.
Yeah, there's no power steering it or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think these tanks have power steering. So it's not that hard. You know what I mean? So I don't know. If it like, what's her face? Tulsi Gabbard. She could be overran and like her little medic unit can be overran. So they need to know how to fight. And I don't know. I think women are safer in a tank than just in a tent giving aid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's like, so I do know this. In the old days, rescue used to be called pararescue in the Air Force. And those dudes knew how to fight hand to hand, very well trained, but they're also medics. They can care for you too at the same time. And you know, I don't know. I think that's a man's job. You know what I mean? I don't think women should be like nursing or anything, unless they're in a real hospital out. Like if you're going in a combat zone, I think you put them in a tank and they're safe in there. Mm-hmm. Unless that tank gets stuck in a ditch. But, you know. No, but I just don't think women belong in combat zones. I just don't.
Okay. Well, that kind of answers, you know, the whole kind of disparity because of a couple of different things. The gang aspect, the money aspect, and also just the push, you know, as far as what roles that we have for women here. I mean, we do have to wrap this up here, but do you have any final thoughts about the tribalism and the gang mentality that's kind of attributed to all of
But there's one more aspect I forgot to mention. If Rapinoe honestly cared about police brutality, she would learn and educate herself about the requirements needed to be a cop. Because, like, I'm not kidding you. In Oakland, cops only need a high school education. But at least they get paid over $100,000 a year.
Right.
But in a godforsaken city like Vallejo, they require you to have 30 units or 4 years of military experience, which is a godforsaken, awful requirement. Because what if you have PTSD? You know what I mean? And you just are freaking out. But here's the thing. In Vallejo, cops only make $70,000 a year. Think about that. And the max you can make as a cop in Vallejo, which is one of the most dangerous cities in the Bay, is $96,952. Mm-hmm. That literally comes out to $267 a year. Your life is only worth $267 a year in Vallejo, where you're gonna get shot by some thug.
Wait, what do you mean? They make $99,000 a year, though? Or
No. Yeah. So if you do the math, right, divide that by 365, it's two something. But let's say they only work 22 days out a month, so it's 367, something like that.
Sure.
And so think about that. If they put your value of your life at 360, but since a cop is a 24/7 type of a job, your life is only worth under 268 a day. That's the value of your life. Seriously, that is what we value your life at. Not only do you not have to be educated, but you know what? Since your life is only worth 260 something and we're going to tax you, so really your life is only worth, your life is worth 267 a day before taxes. So after taxes and everything else, your life is only worth like one something. Are you kidding me? These boys, or young men, risk their lives every day by being put in a godforsaken place like Vallejo or Richmond or Oakland. And then on top of that, they have no education, and their experiences could be combat experience in the military on top of a high school education, not even the 30-unit requirement. That is a dangerous situation they're putting themselves in. So instead of going up against police officers who have no idea, look, they just want a job.
Right.
If you have a high school education, come on, 70 grand's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Because look, you don't have an education. What else are you going to do? You come from the hood or whatever. Yeah, and that's the thing. A lot of these white boys who are cops, they come from a hood. It's not a black hood. They come from a white hood, which is just as bad as a black hood. It's just
sure,
just white. So anyway, with this happening, this phenomena, and these cops are beating up people and killing people because they have they're scared and their life is only worth a certain amount of money, and they really got to provide for their families. Think about it. You are providing for your wife and kids on a salary that is a net $150 a day in California. That's bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, you can't survive on $150 a day in the Bay. That's insane. And look, think about this. Me and the counselor have only been able to save $150 in 1 year. That's between the two of us.
$150?
No, $150K.
Oh, okay.
And we still can't buy anything here.
Yeah.
Imagine if you're making a cop salary and no one's threatening me. No
Yeah.
one's threatening the count, and we barely saved 150, and we can't buy property here because we got to have honestly, you got to have like 300. So by next year we'll have 300, a little bit more. But think about that.
But you're not a mortgage guy, so you're like, forget that.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the whole point. You know what I mean? Because you got to buy some. No, we're gonna build. So you buy land and you build from scratch, and it should be under 300 because fuck the more, dude. Come on now, that's dude. But that's my point. All these dudes are mortgage guys. All of these people are idiots. They have no understanding of what conservative values are. They have no idea about conservative economics.
Mm-hmm.
So if you break down their economic situation, then you have to understand why cops are so desperate. And look, they got kids. A lot of cops have 2 or 3 kids. Some have 4 or 5 because cops, when they get home from a rough day, they bang their wife and, oh, well, she's pregnant again. You know what I mean? And that's just what happens. So, but that's the truth of cops. But Rapinoe has no idea about these types of things. She has no idea. So she's going to attack these young men who risk their lives with no training, no education, and possibly 4 years of combat, experience. Come on the streets of the United States.
Yeah.
And this is why now I kind of now I get why they're beating women for no reason. Because look, man, it's a hostile situation. They don't know. They just don't know. And so you got to excuse these people. It doesn't make it right, but you got to understand what they're going through, what they're like. Seriously, when you break it down like that, has anybody ever broken it down to cops only make $266 a day gross? That's not including the rate of inflation. That's not including anything. And that's at the maximum level.
Yeah.
When you're making $96,000, the max that they can make in Vallejo, your life is now worth $266 a day gross, before taxes, before Social Security, before Medi-Cal tax, before, cost of inflation, before all of that. But when you break it down, their life is probably worth about $150 a day. And you can't live that way with 3 or 4 kids. Come on. And then what if the wife is cheating on you? Oh my God. You know what I mean? Like there's all kinds of things that happen.
Yeah. But I get it.
I don't know if you heard the counselor, but the counselor goes, it's not worth it.
Yeah, no.
That's true.
But that's true. And I think that that's a good way to kind of put it there. Because I think that these people it's not just about the cops. It's not just about the whatever thing that they're complaining about, whether it be a wage gap. It's about the abuse and the lack of understanding of conservative values, what we really do have, as well as certain freedoms that are taken for granted. And I don't blame people. It's all because of progressive brainwashing. This is all part of it.
Exactly. So, that's exactly true. Now, see, Rapinoe, instead of understanding what a cop has to go through, she's shitting on the dude for no fucking reason. She has no reason to shit on a guy that's never done anything to her. Not at all. And because the thing is like this. Look, I'm all against police brutality. I am. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I understand what they go through. And so, you know what I mean? And that's the thing. Our lack of understanding of one another is a big problem. Right. Which is probably why we need Christianity more than ever. Because that's the only, seriously, with all of my experience, with the counselors' experience, with everything that we know, I swear to God, all these laws, there is no answer. There is no answer at all for our problems, except for that one adage about, throwing the first stone and, all those old school, old fashioned, hokey type of things that come out of the Bible. But that's the only answer. That is literally the only answer. And I don't know who, I still don't know who wrote the New Testament, but
Paul and the disciples.
Well, that's the point. This dude was like the original Freud. You know what I mean? And those are the only answers. And if we go away from that, we're fucked. We are. The more we go away from it, the more fucked we are. That's just how it works. Excuse my French, but there's no other word for it. We're just fucked. But that's why it's like I'm telling you now, we need our leaders to understand that whole Christian thing, and then base our economy, base people's pay based on that. Because without it, we're screwed. Can you imagine if everybody's going to do what Rapinoe does? Oh my God! Not
There's no
only
room.
we're gonna have
Yeah,
just
no room.
running around all over the place, but the violence breaking out. It's gonna be madness. I mean, straight up madness, and that's what we're living in right now. Yesterday, in front of the White House, was total madness. But anyway, that's my final thoughts.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Well, I hope you guys got something out of this episode today. I hope you guys also had a safe Independence Day holiday into the weekend here. We'll see you guys all in the next episode. Take care.